Welcome to the Manuchehri podcast. Over the last 30 years, it has been my joy to assist humanity in aligning with their magnificence so they may heal, discover their natural gifts, and communicate with loved ones living on the other side. May you also experience delight while we dance in the powerful, intuitive world of energy. Let's get going. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Energy Meets the Divine, where we talk about everything energy, not just your body and energy medicine, but mediumship, spirit guides, everything psychic and intuitive. I'm really thrilled that the human race is feeling more comfortable about this topic and is curious about their own abilities to assess the multisensory world. But I use sometimes different language to describe it because I feel like collectively we can communicate with all the beings and all the things that are outside of the human realm. When I'm asking personal questions or working, I like to assume I'm communicating with creation or God, but we're all part of that. We're all part of that system. Everything about us is part of that. No one is void of that type of energy. So I thought we'd talk a little bit before go to the phone lines, which are really voicemail messages that people have graciously left for me to answer my question intuitively, psychically, which basically means the same thing. The word intuitive and the word psychic mean the very same thing. A lot of humans were uncomfortable with the word psychic, so many of us picked up the word intuitive, but it means exactly the same thing. And in order for someone to read energy, that means they're moving energy. So when you work with people in general, not even people who have developed and built their intuitive abilities, but anyone who's going to read your energy, like a therapist or someone of that nature, you want people who are happy, fulfilled, as conscious as possible, aware of their own issues, because when they move your energy, then they're doing it with a lot of high frequency and high vibration. So they're attracting positive and wonderful outcomes towards you, even if they're not intending to, they are. But I thought we'd talk about organs for a moment today. I happen to love anatomy and physiology, although it's been a long time since I've been in a class like that. But of course, I've been working with the human body for, 25 years as an intuitive and then 8 years previously as a nurse. And one of the things that I do is I even hold my own organs energetically just to see how they're doing. What are they feeling? I think it's important for people to have an awareness because all of your body parts are already having a conversation with you. And you are either consciously or unconsciously having a conversation with your body parts. In fact, the other day, I noticed that I wasn't very nice to the external part of my tummy. Yeah, I wasn't very nice to it. I didn't like that there was skin hanging over, a pair of pants. I didn't like it. And I'm sure I've had this thought for a while and I wasn't very conscious with it. And I went, oh my gosh, I don't want to talk to any part of my body that way. I don't want any part of my beautiful body to hear my unconscious, uncaring thoughts about it because the body works really hard to take care of all of us. It works overtime. It's an amazing machine. It's incredible. It's your temple while your energy has left the heavens or wherever dimension you happen to be hanging out before you came to earth. And it's stored in this beautiful temple. So I've started to be really kind to it and loving and appreciative and all the things that we really are normally meant to be towards our physical form, or really everything, but we're focusing on the physical form right now. And of course, when you're nice to something, it just starts to do what you want it to. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm liking how much my tummy's looking now just because I'm being nice to it and being kind to it. So let's imagine, and if you're driving, wait till you get home to do this exercise. But let's imagine that we're going to hold our pancreas. So the pancreas is in the upper left abdominal area. It cannot be bigger than 6 inches. That's the typical size. It's like 4.5 to 6 inches approximately. And its widest point is 3 centimeters, which is about an inch. So it's kind of, it's crossways in your body, or I think they call it transverse. And it's in between your stomach and the duodenum, which is a tube that dumps into the small intestines, goes from the stomach to the small intestines. You don't have to remember all of that, but just that it's kind of back in there, kind of squished between a lot of anatomy. But it's a very important organ. Some people say it's shaped like a leaf. In a lot of drawings, they look at it that way. It has two main purposes, but it's a really powerful organ. One is that it helps release digestive enzymes into your body so that you can digest food. It basically, has this huge impact on your digestive system, but it also produces the hormone insulin, which delivers sugar to your cells. So people who have type 1 diabetes, the islets of Langerhorn, which are inside the pancreas, you don't have to remember all these terms, by the way, which secretes insulin, they're not working. Or maybe somebody was born without sufficient forms of these, parts of the pancreas that secrete this hormone. Or sometimes if someone becomes a type 1 diabetic later in life, like in their 30s or 40s, just, spontaneously, then they could have gotten a virus. But despite all of that, please don't worry. Don't go in fear. That's not what I want you to do. That's really not the purpose of this exercise. We're going to feel the pancreas. We're going to hold it in our hands, whether you believe this is truly happening or you're imagining it, you're feeling it, you're hearing the pancreas. I want you to know that the vibration for the pancreas is the sweetness of life. So the sweetness of life is, it's like one of those really cool days. If you live in the Northwest, it's when it's not raining. Although I love the rain, but it is annoying. It's not raining. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. The sky's blue. That it's not too windy. You've had a beautiful breakfast. You have free time in the afternoon, and you're just going to go chill. Maybe go for a leisure walk, or take a nap, or go to the movies with some friends. That's kind of the sweetness of life, where you're not overthinking about things, you're not overdoing, you're not reactive. You're just kind of when you're on vacation and you're walking a beach. One of my favorite beaches that I recently experienced a couple years ago, after I taught a workshop on the island of Syros in Greece. So it's a fun place to teach. I vacationed on Naxos, which is a really great family kind of orientated island. And they have this beautiful beach called the Planka, and you can just walk it and walk it and walk it. It's stunning. So it could be what it feels like when you're on vacation, whether you're skiing down a mountain or you're walking a beach or you're hiking, but where you're not thinking about other things. You're just in this very receptive, beautiful, nothing's wrong kind of energy, the sweetness of life. So if you could get into that frequency right now, like invite it into your body, whether you have to remember the Planka to do so, or it happens to be a nice day here in the Northwest and the forecast says it's going to be nice for like a whole week. Not common in June for us Pacific people. So you're in that vibration. You can, if you need to, close your eyes and put yourself in that vibration for a minute or so. And then imagine that you're allowing the energy of the pancreas to come into your hands, and you kind of know its size, or approximately not thicker than an inch, not longer than 6 inches, kind of shaped like a leaf. And some of its major properties. And if you could just feel what the pancreas or your pancreas is feeling, what is its vibration? Is it feeling the sweetness of the life? Is it winking at you or smiling at you? And yes, I'm asking you to go past your logical brain, because you will be much happier on earth if you don't use it for every single moment of your life. It's really meant to, balance your checkbook if you still do that, or, make sure that you put the right gas in your car or you bought the right food. Turn off your beautiful mind and be in your emotional system, and allow yourself to experience your pancreas. And as you are doing that, allow yourself to share that vibration of the sweetness of life with it, to recharge it, to recalibrate it, to help it to stay really, 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 really healthy, to help the island of Langerhorn cells to be at their highest function, for it to be able to release healthy digestive enzymes. And if you have type 2 or type 1 diabetes, this is not a time to be sad about that. There's a reason why that disease process has showed up in your body. And we're not going to be sad about that or angry about that. Of course, that's your choice. But we're going to be, wow, there's something my body wants to learn by having something unique regarding my pancreas. So, regardless of what you're sensing right now or your medical history, just return back to the sweetness of life for just a few moments and allow your pancreas to be filled up with light. And thank it so much for all the hard work that it does for you. And then energetically put it back into your body. Okay, so there are tons of ways to help us stay healthy and tons of ways to help other people maintain health or regain health. And that's one of them, a fun thing to do. Okay, I'm going to now go to the voicemail. So if you want to leave a message for me, you go to energyintuitive.com. You go to the podcast page. There are instructions on how to leave a voicemail message that I play when I'm doing the podcast, and then I answer your question. I do answer individually for the individual. I'm a very strong psychic and I'm a very fast reader. However, these answers could be effective for anyone who might be listening. And it's just really fun. I think it's really fun. It's a joy for me.
Hello, Marie. My name is Brooke, and I currently live in California. I've had a pretty tough last few years regarding many different changes that have been happening in my life. And I lost my mom about a year ago, and I was her primary caretaker. It was a pretty complicated situation, and we had a complicated relationship. And so that really took a toll on me. I'm still trying to heal from that. But I am in a position currently with my job situation where I feel like it's time for me to go to school and get a degree. And I'm just feeling a little bit of resistance towards it and a lot of fear. And so I was just wondering if maybe you could just give me a general idea of maybe what my spirit guides might be saying in regards to that, and anything else you might see as well. I really appreciate your podcast and all that you do. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Brooke. And I'm sorry about your mom. I'm sorry that she's on the other side, but I mean, the relationship was pretty tricky. I can see your mom. She thanks you so much for putting your angst aside and taking care of her during one of the most difficult times of her life. Your mother wasn't good at letting go or getting out of the way. And if I'm saying anything that's disrespectful, of course, I apologize for that. But the universe is pretty direct in its conversation with me. And I feel that that's how I'm meant to deliver the information to the best of my ability. She could be a little cray-cray sometimes. Think of it this way. When we have such conflicted relationships, no matter how hard we try to make it okay, when you have two people in a connection, like a mother-daughter or, partners or siblings, and you're very different souls in terms of age. So younger souls have had less lifetimes in general, and probably less lifetimes on earth. That's why younger souls can be attracted, I'm not saying this about your mother at all, I'm just using this as an example, to organizations where they try to control you, like the military, which of course there has to be control. We're talking about weapons and bombs and, sensitive activities, more conservative type religions, even polygamy. Younger souls are attracted to these type of organizations because they get to be told what to wear, how to act, what to do. So there's an attraction, whether that's a lifetime attraction or just a temporary attraction. And maybe the younger soul will have some growth of consciousness and leave one of those organizations. or maybe they were born into it and wanted to learn personal power and were able to move out of an organization that's telling people how to be or what to believe and all of those things. So that's just an example of, an aspect of potentially of younger souls. And then older souls don't like a lot of organized anything, that they want the freedom to act the way they want to. And I'm not talking about the people who are super angry about society. That's typically not an older soul, typically not. Maybe a medium soul, maybe on the crust from younger soul to medium soul. Obviously, it's kind of complicated. But what I'm trying to say to you is that you two are not the same soul age. And when there's weird conflict in a family or, issues come up, when you have younger and older souls, it's really hard to get them to agree on the same thing. I have both, like many people, young souls and old souls in my family. And we've had our own weird family dynamics, of course. One of them has to be about our mother as well, her care and where she should be and how she should be taken care of. And we've let her, of course, make those decisions. We don't agree with her choices, but she's happy. So as long as she's happy, then of course we're all happy too. So what happens is when there's potential conflict and complete different perceptions about how things should be handled, whether that's a relationship or healthcare or money, all these kind of sensitive topics. When you're both older souls or you're both younger souls, or you have a family of mostly older souls, like I'm lucky my children are old souls, so we can get along really well and understand each other and help each other when we have internal conflicts and issues going on, which is incredible. Or even if people are the same young soul, I mean, that's also a blessing because you see the world through the same eyes, through the same perception. You get the other person. It's not like there's this light and dark perception or night and day perception. So you and your mom were not the same soul age. And it's really difficult to have those relationships heal or come to some place of balanced. In my case, with our mom, she got some, forgetfulness. And so she's not stuck in some of her victim consciousness, which makes it so much nicer for everyone. Like she's just a joy to be around now. I mean, oh my gosh. So I can see your mother. She actually was talking to me right away. So I've rambled too long. She tells me, she thanks you for putting everything aside as you did to the best of your ability. You did a really good job because again, we're just not going to agree. And there's nothing wrong with disagreeing. It's like a 5-year-old doesn't understand the experiences that a 25-year-old is experiencing in the human world. And the 5-year-old is not supposed to. And sometimes the 25-year-old forgets what it feels like to be 5, right? So nothing was wrong with your relationship. It was just that you both thought that the other person is supposed to understand the other person's point of view. And no, that is not necessarily true. She kisses you all over your face. She says that you were one of the best daughters. Like she has a very different vision now. Of course, she had a great intimate experience with you, but she has a very different vision about parent-child relationships. And then about going back to school. Study what makes you happy. You can work on the fear and the resistance, of course, probably do some inner work, even some inner child work about school. But go study something that makes you really, 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 really happy. I didn't used to think I was, when I was in primary school and all that I was very bright. I also didn't like school until I went to college. And I did very well in college. I had 3 kids and a demanding relationship, and I did very well. So when you find something that you love, you will shine in it and it will all work out. So take your time feeling what you love. And I wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much.
Hi, Marie. My name is Jean, and I currently live in Sacramento. So I've been learning a lot, and I know I need to work on self-love, and that's causing my gut issues
Mm.
and elimination issues
Mm.
that I've been experiencing since birth. My
Mm.
question for you today is, do you see parasites in me? And do you think going through a parasite cleanse with a practitioner would be beneficial for me? I have always felt that something is stuck in my intestines, and I've worked really hard on eating well, doing yoga, all of the above. Yes, I am working on self-love, but I just want to know if you have anything else you would like to add, or if there are anything that you really want to stress to me about. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. And thank you for working on the self love. It's a lifelong experience, self love is. I don't think you have an abnormal growth of parasites. We probably all have a little bit, in our intestinal tract. And of course, some people get, and not a healthy, terrible form of parasite, and they need to have antibiotics and other drugs probably to kill it. I don't think there's anything wrong with you working with a practitioner to do some parasite cleansing, but that stuckness that you're feeling is your inability to let go. What creates constipation is not letting go. So what that means is that you may have a topic in your life or a situation in your life, and this could be happening throughout your lifetime, where you're just overly focused on it, overly annoyed by it, can't let it go, trying to fix it, overthinking, overanalyzing. So if you decide to do this parasite cleanse, which, if it's really healthy and has lots of herbs in it and, nutrients, and it makes you happy, then that could be a positive way to go. But I wouldn't do it until you can learn to surrender. And that could be your what if question. What if I surrender? And you don't have to know what you're surrendering about. It's not necessary to know the entire details of something. In fact, it's mostly unnecessary. I'll tell this interesting story. I mentioned it in a class I was teaching the other day. A few years back, I was asked by an international organization to travel to where John of God lived or lives. I don't know where he's living right now, and have a healing, with a group of people, take them there and experience John of God. But I had had a feeling years prior that wasn't very positive about John of God. I didn't tell anyone. I kept it to myself. When clients um, told me they wanted to go see John of God, I was like, great, have a good time, and I didn't know why I had this feeling, but I didn't care. It was very clear to me I did not have a positive feeling about him. And I've known a lot of people who've journeyed to his beautiful psychic surgery, because I think that's pretty cool and interesting, and they had wonderful time. And I still kept my feeling to myself, but I didn't discount my feeling. And so when I was asked if I would be willing to travel there, I said, guys, I just don't have a good feeling about John of God. And I think they were kind of shocked by my response. I didn't know why. This is the part I'm trying to point out. You don't have to know why. Well, John of God, I think, is in jail now for sexual misconduct. So I'm trying to validate your feeling that you have that something is stuck there. So obviously I didn't go on that trip. And I don't mean to say anything unkind to anyone who had a wonderful time, going to see, this healer, because I do think he has healing abilities, but I didn't have a good feeling about him. So you have this feeling that something's stuck in your intestines. I think we need to honor that. But what if it's energetic? And what if the things you are unwilling to let go of are from previous lifetimes? Like, you don't have to know all the ins and outs. It's not critical to have all the information, which is very different than what humanity thinks. And that's why they use their brain to try to understand things. And then they waste precious amounts of time trying to figure something out. Like, I didn't spend a moment researching, this particular healer when I had that feeling. Not a moment. I'm just like, oh, yeah, not my cup of tea. Okay. So what if I surrender? What if I get out of the way? What if I let go? These are your new what if questions. I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Hi, Marie. My name is Christy. I have been struggling with extreme dry eye since August 2023. And now it's been 6 months, and it's extreme dry eye, stinging and burning. It's changed my life. My world is upside down. I had to quit teaching my yoga classes and Pilates clients, which I love. And I'm miserable and
Oh,
beside myself. I've gone to eye doctors that diagnosed me with dry eye,
right.
and I know there's something to this, and I know that it can be healed. So if there's anything that you can do to guide me in the direction of, I'm doing so many things, and I feel like there's an answer, and I just haven't found it yet. Thank you so much, and so much gratitude and appreciation for anything that you can do to answer what it is that's going on with my excruciatingly dry eyes.
I thank you, Christine, and I'm so sorry that's happening for you. I truly am. So I would have your vitamin D level checked immediately. And vitamin D is such an interesting supplement. It really helps the eyes. It helps the whole body, actually. And I think there's this critical place between having enough vitamin D and kind of being in the toxic area. My naturopath has only seen one person toxic on vitamin D. That happened to be me. I took a lot of vitamin D during the pandemic. As far as I know, I haven't had COVID, but again, there, of course, were people who had COVID who did not have symptoms. So I could have been one of those people. So you need to go have your vitamin D checked. I think you need to have your vitamin D level, but it's a personal thing because I've been toxic with it. My level when I was toxic was like 147. But I think everyone has their own ideal range, and you just kind of have to play with it. So now I get my vitamin D checked regularly, and I obviously don't take as much as I was taking during the pandemic, which was a lot. But I think for you, the sweet spot is between 70 and like 90. So have your vitamin D checked. It's going to help your eyes significantly. And I think you need hormones. People don't understand how powerful hormones are. And not everyone can take hormones post menopause or premenopausal, especially if they have a long history of cancer or they've had cancer themselves. And I think even some forms of blood clots and things of that nature. But a really good naturopath isn't going to want their patient to have their hormones back in their 20s or their 30s. Just adding enough to allow our bones to be fed, to have more fluid in the body, not have such dryness. And the energetic cause of dry eyes or anything to do with the eyes is not seeing oneself accurately. And typically what that means, because I attract older soul types primarily, is you're not seeing how wonderful you are, how amazing you are. So this takes us back to self-love and self-worth. But seeing yourself is amazing and incredible, beyond the beyond, one with the universe. That's what you need to work on, regardless of the external things you may use to help your eyes heal and have the necessary fluid to support it long term so that you can be flexible with medications or whatnot or supplements. That would be best. And as always, when I give any advice, please ask your doctors, your naturopaths, your practitioners. I think that's critical. It's highly critical. Okay. Thank you. That was a great question.
Hi, Marie. My name is Liz. I live in Pennsylvania. I wanted to say thank you for everything that you do. I really admire your work. My question is, I'm in a relationship, and I wanted to see if you could tell or feel if we're supposed to be together or if our time is over. We've been together since I was 17. I will be 40 this year in a few months. I don't know if I'm supposed to let go of the past and move on with him, or if I'm supposed to let go of him. And then just if you have any words from my spirit guides that will help me to keep me on the right path in life. Thank you. Sending lots of love.
Thank you, Liz. I'm so sorry that you're going through this challenging partnership moment. I had a rule for my kids, although I made lots of rules for my children. I respected. I think we'll have to interview them someday. Their own choices. But I had a rule that nobody gets married until they're 30 because of the Saturn return that we have starting around 27, 28, depending on the person. Saturn return, it's the first Saturn return, and people change during their Saturn return. I did, and I didn't, I've never studied astrology. I didn't even have an astrology reading until I was 40, but I had a huge change in my belief system and my feelings and my self-worth and my awareness right around the age 30. And so Saturn return can start right around 28. It goes to like 30, 31. It depends on the person and when they were born and all of that. But you can look it up. When was your Saturn return? So yeah, you don't have to leave this relationship if you don't want to. You can do whatever you want. You have free will. But if you're not having fun, and hopefully you're having a conversation with your partner about it, because that's what creates healthy relationships, is true conversations, intimacy, honesty, all of those things. So depending on how comfortable you feel about that or how respected you feel about that, that could play a big factor in how long you want to stay in this relationship. But I'm not surprised that things feel weird because you've been together for a long time and you've changed. And not everybody changes at the same pace. And some people choose not to have a significant shift in their consciousness. I always worry about people who their best friends never change and they've been best friends since junior high. I'm like, it makes me nervous. And in some instances, I'm sure it's perfect. I'm sure people have changed together and grown and connected. So your main question to ask yourself all the time, and this is for everyone, all the time, no matter what you're doing, if it's about a relationship, your work, your hobbies, how you feel about your lifestyle, the food you eat, is, am I happy? Am I happy right now? What am I feeling right now? Am I happy? That needs to be the predominant question that people hold in their brain, because that gives us information about what's going on in our lives. Not everything is meant to stay exactly the same, or maybe our mind is thinking of very, very difficult, wacky things when everything's great. I'm not necessarily talking about you in that perspective, but I've had clients who didn't want to be with their partners. I'm like, I think this is a really good partnership for you. I'm like, really? And I go, yeah, I think this is a good one for you. I'm not necessarily saying yay or nay in any direction. I think you're in a self-discovery. I think this is the time for you to figure out who you are and what you want and what's in your best interest. And hopefully you can include your partner in this conversation. And hopefully your partner is supportive about this new research that you're doing about yourself. You've changed. Congratulations. It's a really good sign. So you just need to find out if you're happy, and if you're not, do different things that authentically align with true happiness for you. All right. Thank you.
Hi, Marie. This is Milena Stanley calling from Rock Hill, South Carolina. Thank you so much for everything that you do and for helping so many people in this world. And I have had you on my mind so much lately. I have been going through some personal struggles, and I feel like I have so much to offer to this world, but I am going through some mental issues, and I need to know that what I'm manifesting is true and out of my heart. I feel like my manifestations are pretend. I want to know that everything that is going on in my heart and my brain is going to come to a calm end for me, to a more clear point, because it's so messy. I don't know what I feel. I don't know who to believe. I don't trust anybody, and I feel like I'm going to push away the people that I love the most because I can't allow myself to trust that they truly love me, because I don't believe that I'm lovable. I have been in such a bad place in my head, and I feel like if I can just fix my emotional state, I can get back to a happy place in my life and keep spreading the joy. And I don't understand what is going on with me and why I'm so confused lately, but I have these panic attacks coming all over me, and I have extreme anxiety, and a hard time trusting in the words of others and believing that I am this lovable person that everyone sees me as. I don't understand why I can't love myself. I am trying to reach out to my spirit guides and look into spirituality. I'm trying to reach out to my grandmother who passed away this summer, who used to have a lot of these gifts that I hear about. And I hope that I can get some help from somewhere, because my heart and my brain are a mess and I am desperate. I have so much to offer to this world. I want to contribute, and I want to be a light, and I want to be a wonderful, good place to spread the joy and influence people with my goodness, and just be a brightness and happiness in their and a joy in their day. And I can't contribute while my heart is so closed off. Please, Marie, what is the message that you can send for me? Please give me some hope.
Okay, well, I'm sorry that you're struggling so much. And this has a lot to do with you just overthinking and analyzing. Again, overthinking and analyzing. That is the root of most depression. Like 98% of people who have depression don't need chemicals to change their mind, maybe temporarily. And the same is true with anxiety. It comes from overthinking, analyzing. Of course, you're lovable. Everybody's lovable. And so this is about you changing your relationship with yourself. Most humans self-loathe. That is the truth of the majority of the human population. They self-loathe. They do not like themselves, let alone love themselves. So it sounds like to me as well is that you need to learn to trust yourself. I mean, regardless of what anyone says about us, but you're very fortunate to have people who love you and cherish you and want the best for you. So you have to learn to stop thinking. You might want to go and find a therapist who is energetically aware, like has studied energy medicine or is conscious about that, and also can work on some traumas, because maybe some traumas are coming up for you that could be, of course, past life, but maybe some childhood stuff. People don't have to have horrific experience in their life to have traumas. Sleep training, I don't think it's a good idea. You know, a lot of people do it, actually. In fact, it's popular again. I think that can be traumatic for young children to scream and cry in their beds or their cribs for hours and days on end. You know, so that's an example of a trauma that we would say is not, you know, from our logical mind, is not horrific, but it could be traumatic to a child. To feel alone and cold and unsafe. So I think that would be fun for you to learn some ways to self-love and self-nurture and work on your inner children. And so I would look for a therapist who has those abilities, but is also aware of energy, because I don't think people should spend extraordinary amounts of time in the negative aspects of their perception of their life. I don't think long talk therapy about negativity is healthy. I think it's interesting to experience at least once in one's lifetime, but I think that there needs to be a progression, and that just talking is not the solution, that having energetic exercises that allow you to work with your subconscious can be very helpful. So that's what I recommend for you. Listen to the people who love you. They are correct. You are lovable. How could you not be? How could you not be? You are God like everyone else. And don't get so focused on trying to help others. I think that is what we're all meant to do. But we first have to find our own inner joy, our own happiness, and learn what makes us personally happy and do that in the world. And that will allow our light to shine to help the rest of the human race. So be more focused on your own joy, not on how to help other people. Okay, I hope that's helpful. And I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Hi, Marie. Thank you for taking my question. My name is Erin, and I am located in North Missouri. And my question is about a psychic mediumship reading that I had a few months ago. I went to the psychic medium. She's amazing. I love her. And she connected me with my mother. And the medium told me that I actually have the same abilities that she has.
Great.
And throughout the reading, my mother kept, telling her to have me look into the spiritual side of myself and to dig into it and to figure it all out. So that's what I've been trying to do. But I feel like I've been struggling to do it. I've tried several things, and I don't know if I'm getting very far. So I guess what my question is for you is, do you also, can you tell or can you see that I do have those abilities? And if I do, can you give me some advice on what I should be doing to fine tune those? Like I said, I've been trying some things, and it's not that I don't believe in them. I don't know that I feel it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, Erin. I'm sorry that your mother is deceased. And everyone is naturally psychic intuitive for their very own life. Like that's what humanity is waking up to, that I think intuition is 1,000 times more accurate than the logical mind. So we're all learning how to have intuition in our life. Even professional psychics, it's much harder to read oneself. It's so much easier to read a complete stranger, believe it or not. It's really true. We work on reading ourselves so that we can have a better flow and more accuracy and more fun in our own life. So that's normal for everyone to be intuitive for their own life. And then some people, it brings them great joy to use their psychic abilities to help others, right? It brings them great joy. So you have to stop listening to your mind. You can't even use your brain to analyze psychic ability. You can't. Here's an example. And I'm highly clairvoyant. That means I see images. Most of my intuition is translated through me through visions, visions. I don't know how else to describe it. And when my kids ask me a question, an intuitive question, I usually say, okay, it's going to take me a day or two. I've got to get out of my head because I'm emotionally connected to them. So I have my own, I want certain things for them. Of course, I want them to be happy. Thankfully, I think most of the time they are. Thank gosh. Thank God. Thank the universe. But when my youngest, she was finishing law school and she did not want to work for a large corporation. She did not want to be a corporate lawyer, but she also didn't want to work for a nonprofit and work really hard all the time and not make a lot of money. So she was conflicted. And she said, Mom, will you please go do some reading and find out, she means energetically, if I'm supposed to work for a corporation or not. And I already knew what she wanted, right? So I said, okay, honey, but I need to get away from your energy. I need to not think about you. You can't think about what you want an answer about because intuition is so different than logic. And you don't even have to completely understand the information that's being shared to you. It will make sense to the person that you're communicating with. But you could also have an understanding. And intuition is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So it's like that. Like people have overused their logical mind so much so that it's exhausted. It's like a strained muscle. It's just worn out. So I, got out of my head a couple days later, rested in the lower half of my body, like my abdomen, which is important. It's like you're pulling your energy from the brain and putting it in your feet if you need to have it far away from your mind, because the third eye, which is in the brain, needs freedom. It needs space. And when people overthink and analyze, they squish the third eye and they blind it and it can't have experiences. And the third eye doesn't just see, it feels, it hears. It's a multisensory tool. It's really powerful. So I did all of that and I saw this image of my daughter wearing a really cute outfit, like a skirt with a jacket. It was darling. And she has a really good taste in clothes, expensive taste in clothes. That's why she can't just work for a nonprofit. And I saw her jumping up in the air with her hands extended and her feet, up behind her, like this beautiful jump. And she was in a hallway and there were like cubicles behind her. And it was like the third or fourth floor of a building, not a huge building, but a building in Seattle. Like I knew that. And so I'm like, oh, she's going to work for a corporation. And the image let me see the bottoms of her shoes and they were red. I don't remember the name of that designer, but I knew they were designer shoes. My daughter does not buy those shoes, but it was an intuitive, like, she's going to work for a corporation. So I told her, she was a little mad at me actually, but she had interned for a company that has both. It's a nonprofit or a government, non-government organization and a corporation. And they did offer her a job to work on the corporate side. And she took it. And right now she's raising her small children. So she's taking time off from work. But it was a beautiful organization where she would travel a lot and do work to help Indigenous or First Nations people, whatever term you like, who had sold their land to a large company like Nike or I think I talked about this a little bit before, but she would go in and negotiate on their behalf to make sure that the contracts were in the best interest of the tribe or the First Nations people who had decided to sell their land to, you know, some big company. So I guess in telling you all of this, if you're asking a lot of personal questions or personal intuitive questions about others, you have to get out of your head. You have to disconnect and you have to know the difference. You have to know when your mind is quiet. I am teaching a class, I believe, in the fall. I'm pretty sure, or maybe it's in the winter, but all my classes are up on my website, except for the class I'll be teaching in the fall on the Shift Network, which will be all about an advanced healing course. But I'm teaching one on psychic coaching and maybe mediumship. I'm not sure. You'll have to go look. But I teach classes and I teach people how to get out of their heads and away from their minds and get the information. So I hope that helps you, the information I've given you and the example that I gave, so that you can start to stop listening to your mind. It's only for logical things. Like, I realize how much time I have left here to finish the podcast so I can do other things.
Hi, Marie. This is Patricia. I'm a recent licensed massage therapist here in the Seattle area. And I came across your work yesterday with the Upgrade Your Intuition speech. And I definitely was guided to hear your message. And I had to find where you were. So I found your podcast here. Thank you to your assistant. And anyhow, my question is, any thoughts or ideas on how I approach a massage for each patient? I know not everyone is aware of being aware of the multidimensional aspects of existence or life. And so, any thoughts that you might think of for me when it comes to getting a massage ready for a patient, thinking about maybe tapping into their energy or I have some thoughts, but I just wanted to hear what you might think. Okay, thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you so much, Patricia. I'd love to hear your thoughts, quite frankly. So here's the language I've used for years. May those who I can easily help find me. And you're lucky you live in Seattle. You can talk about all kinds of multisensory things and intuitive aspects. They might appreciate it. So that, and what I do, because I don't meditate before I have a session. I don't usually meditate before I teach a class. I just want to be happy. That's all I want. And it's such a personal thing. So I make sure that I'm happy. That means I might go for a walk or take a nap or do a little bit of Qigong. I like to do the Tree of Life Qigong, where you kind of hit your waist front and back while you turn side to side, because it activates the adrenal glands. But my rule before I do work is to be happy. Like, before I sat down to do this podcast, I wrote for about an hour and a half a class that I'm writing. And writing makes me very, very happy. I had my beautiful tea with me. Charles has stared at me. He finally gave up because he hasn't had a walk yet. And he has those human dog eyes that make me feel very guilty if he's not getting what he needs. And now he's given up. So I was able to ignore that so I could, do what I've been wanting to do for a long time, which is to spend time writing every day. So just get happy. We're very lucky to have you. I think you'll end up doing energy work. I think you will end up being an energy practitioner. And we're very lucky to have you. I hope what I said is helpful. Thank you. And I'll do one more person before I go off onto other things.
My name is Joan. I live in Reno, Nevada, not very far from you. I would like a mediumship reading, if that's the correct terminology. I'm 73 years old, very recently retired. I'm also a recent widow and recently discovered that I have Parkinson's. With all that being said, I'm very happy with my life right now. I have no complaints. I can only see good things. I finally see myself, a butterfly, trying out its wings for the very first time. My new situation has allowed me freedom to review and appreciate what I have and feel. I believe someone is trying to reach me from the other side. I've had very strange dreams lately. I can't determine if it's friend or foe or just guides. I could use a little of your intuition. The little girl in my heart is telling me that it's an old boyfriend from years past. That would definitely put a twinkle in my eyes. Or maybe a guide. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thank you very much for your time, Marie.
You're welcome, Joan. And you're right. The loss of your partner freed you up, gave you lots of freedom. And that's not an uncommon thing. And I think people who, and I'm not saying you weren't madly in love with your partner, I don't really know. I mean, I could look at it, but I'm looking at other things for you, like that Parkinson's disease as well. Even people who have been deeply in love with their partner, when they go there, oh, wow, I can do what I want now, yeah. I think it's your mother. I think she's knocking on your door. I do think you are correct. Someone's wants to have a conversation with you, and it's not uncommon for our loved ones to visit us while we're sleeping. And usually they will allow the encounter to be a dream where it feels like they're there because they are there. There's no foe on the other side. Earth is the most challenging time-space reality. And of course, there's no time, but we all work on time, like that's our driving force. Is how much time do I have? When I have to do this? I mean, that's what we do all the time. I think it's your mother. And she's basically apologizing for not recognizing your light. She says your light is glowing on the other side magnificently. And she apologizes for not recognizing your light, for not reminding you of your light, for not complimenting your light in all of your goodness. And it's just kind of a generational thing. Sometimes female parents favor the masculine energy based on their generation and how they were raised and what they believed about gender. And that's what your mother tells me. So she says she sees your light on the other side and it's beautiful. And she encourages you to continue to let that light shine. She's very happy that you're happy. She says you deserve it. And then I want to talk to you about Parkinson's disease. So Parkinson's is about being stubborn and not letting go, like maybe staying too long in that relationship, which is now ended because someone's life ended. I would do a lot of letting go, and you're in this great space where you're happy. So perhaps even though you've been diagnosed, the disease process won't continue because you're running positive energy and you feel good about yourself, which is incredible. But if you could also repeat, what if I surrender? What if I get out of the way? What if I let go? Or any other form of language like that, like multiple times a day for 3 to 4 minutes. You don't have to say it out loud. You can just repeat it in your head. You do not need to understand what you're letting go of. This is not necessary. You may never know. It could be from a past life. And we're always working on past lives in whatever current lifetime we are experiencing. So thank you, Joan, for your question. And thank you, everyone, for leaving me a message and for listening to the podcast. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. That would be very helpful. And today is May 5th, 2024, just so you know when this was made. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.